Grace, where should I start? If you don't know what I'm talking about, just know that this has been one of the biggest questions or most asked question this year. People calling me, people meeting me. Anytime they see me, they're asking where they should start. So initially, I was wondering, how come it's not even about interest rate, right? Because that's what I hear about all the time on the news. But no, no, no. All that is chatter. People are trying to find out where they need to start. And so this video is literally gonna be very raw, telling you exactly what I did to start and how I was forced out of my rental and all the other personal stuff that happened to me that made me really consider real estate. And so stay tuned to the very end because this is gonna be mainly about story time. And hopefully you get something out of it to help you start your journey. Welcome back to Wealth and Wellness with Grace, and today you get to hear some of my challenges and also what helped me back for so long before I started. First, I wanted to purchase a house or a home for nearly 7 years. We had stayed in this apartment, and if you haven't had my story, right, just know that we had stayed in this apartment for 7 years, paid rent on time every month. We had never been late. Unfortunately, the landlord did not pay his mortgage. And so on the 1st of August, guess what happened? An uninvited guest comes into the house. So if you know me, I do not deal with snakes. Me and reptiles, we don't get along. I picked up my toddlers, ran out the door, and in my mind I said, never again. This is not for me. I have to move. And then if you back up from that story, I had to tell you that 2013 was the year I told God that I was tired of renting, that I was going to get a house that year. Every day we prayed, me and my kids, Lord, help us get a house this year. Lord, help us get a house this year. So one thing about me, whatever I pray for, I get. That's how serious and faith-filled I am. Because I believe that God loves his children, right? Because think about, if God can provide for everything else in the world, guess what? God can provide for you too. So I don't know if you're a believer. I'm not trying to change your beliefs and whatnot, but I'm just telling you what I believe. I believe the Creator wants you to succeed. I don't think God wants us to be deprived. So if you believe it in your heart and do everything that you need to do, then you leave it for the Creator to do the rest. But what stops us sometimes? We want to pray about it. We want to talk about it. We want to complain and see what's wrong with everything, but we are not taking any action. We are not implementing those small steps that we need to implement in our lives to change our lives for the better. And so 2013, I did the opposite. I prayed about it, but I was actively doing. I was working on my credit. I was learning about home ownership. I was doing everything I wanted to do to get into a house. And of course, praying about it, that means asking for help. And 2013, when that snake came in the house, my partner at the time said, we don't have any money. We can't move right now. Excuses. And so 5 days later, I remember going to friends, and while I was there, I told God, God, help me make sure that we don't, whatever happens, that we don't stay in that house. Just make something whereby we don't stay. So that would be the perfect sign, right? And God did not wait, because on the 5th day of August, guess what? We got the eviction notice. And at first I thought it was a joke. Just imagine you're somewhere and somebody calls you, we got an eviction notice, and you're like, no, 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 they can't evict us. Because most times we think that people can evict you only if you don't pay your rent. No, no, no. The bank can get rid of you because the landlord, if they don't pay their mortgage, the bank owns the house. Or whoever the debtor is can put a lien on that house and foreclose on that particular house if you don't pay them. You can't say, oh, you're not responsible at all. It's always somebody else. No. At some point, you have to take responsibility. If you've been living here all these years, you can continue blaming people for so long. But that day, I realized, you know what? This is the prayer I was waiting for. I prayed about it, and this is the sign I needed, because then we had 30 days to move. So in those 30 days, we stayed with friends, but I made sure we were not moving into another apartment. No. However much my spouse was like, oh yeah, we can find this apartment here. I stopped looking at apartments. I said we were looking for a house. And we were denied initially when we asked for a loan. We couldn't qualify for one reason or another. But guess what? We kept going. I kept praying. I kept working on my credit. I got a second job. If you know what you want something, you have to do whatever it takes to get it. And I'm saying legally, of course. Whatever it takes legally to get it. But I got a second job. I started saving more money. I paid off this small debt, because my issue was I had credit cards, I had a car note, I had different things. Guess what? I paid off my car. I did different things to make sure that the next time I apply for this mortgage, we will qualify. And shortly after that, within 90 days, we literally were able to qualify and move into our very first home. So why do I tell you my story? I tell you my story because I don't want you to be me. I don't want you to waste 7 years in an apartment because you think you can afford, because you're scared, because you're hearing all these naysayers, because they're putting their fears on you. I've seen that happen. Or because you're not confident enough in yourself and in your abilities, you see, and in your provider to provide. So I need you to be proactive in your life. And so don't waste all this time waiting on the landlord, waiting on this, waiting. No. Start putting matters into your own hands. So when people have been calling me and asking me, I've literally been sharing my story. And I've been asking them, where are you at in your process? What are your goals? Because then we need to talk about goals. What are your goals? Do you even have a plan? Because that's your roadmap. If your year after year is the same, you see, you're not changing. You have to have a way of growing, you see, and that is having a plan. How are you going to measure your growth if you don't have a plan? So think about that carefully, okay? Have smart goals, like I mentioned. Smart, they're simple. You measure them, right? Attainable. You hear attainable and realistic for you? Don't think about the goals for somebody else, what Grace was able to qualify for. What are you able to qualify for right now? I have a client. He was able to qualify for $300,000, but he wants a house for $1 million. That's not realistic for you right now. You see? And I understand, because he mentioned where I am, I'm in Massachusetts, the houses are expensive. I understand. But guess what? There is always a property, you see, within your price range, wherever you are. You just have to be patient and work on getting that property. And it might not look glamorous, okay, or to the part that you want it to look at, but this is what you can qualify for right now. So let's start there. So I asked that particular client, I was like, so you got qualified for $300,000, but I know you want $1 million property. So what can we do to get that $1 million property? Let's just get this 300 some thousand. And then we can even fix it up. Before you know it, it's built up equity. And you can leverage that property and sell it, or just use some of the refinance the property, get that equity out, and then invest in another property. That's how you build wealth. You see? So it's not going to be a one size fits all. However, you just have to start small steps, work on your credit. Where do you start? What is your credit right now? Are you one of those people who are like, I don't need a credit card? Because I know that too. Because I've always thought that too. Because where I come from, most times we don't have credit. So I realized I don't really need credit. I don't trust the banks. I don't do this. I don't do that. I can take care of myself and not worry about debt. There's good debt and bad debt. having a credit card, and it depends on which credit card. I'm not telling you to go out there and get all these store credit cards. Please don't. Hear what I'm saying. Some of those store credit cards are not worth it. You might go out there and get Sears credit card, which Sears closed, right? So all these stores, you don't know how long they're gonna stay. So you don't want to get a store credit card and that store closes. You really can't use that credit card anyway. It's supposed to be for that particular store. That's why I don't even have any store credit cards. The only place maybe I was considering getting a credit card was airline, because I fly. But what if the airline closes too? Then what happens? Then the credit card closes and then all that messes up my credit. No, I will get just a regular bank credit card, and most times they have secure credit card if you've never built any credit. You see, did you know that 50% of minorities do not have credit? So that's 50% of people who are not leveraging the power of building wealth. Do you have a student loan? You see, all that good debt that's building up, you're paying it off. It's like a revolving credit where you're paying it off monthly. That shows that you're a stable person, that you know your responsibilities and you take care of business. And that's how somebody can be like, okay, I see that you can take care of your business, that you like paying back your debtor. So I'll give you this loan, you see, and you can leverage that loan to do way more than you can do right now. So that's about credit. How about your income? Are you one of those people who today you're in this job, the next day? I've talked to so many people who frustrate me with jobs, yo. It's not that hard, yo, to keep a job. And I'm not saying this, but maybe because it's just me. I just don't like to move from this job and this job and this. No. That's just stressful. And then you're losing a lot of money. Did you know that actually every time you move up from one job to another, you're losing money? Because you really need to stay on a job, ideally 2 years. You see, in those 2 years, you built up skills to really not be a novice in that field, to have at least some expertise in that particular field. But if you're moving every few months, you can't really gain all the skills that you're supposed to gain from that particular job if you keep just moving or rotating yourself out. Because I have a new client. Every time I talk to him, oh, I didn't stay in this job. And then this job, every 3 months, is just moving on. You can't even have a 401k. You can't do nothing every time you're moving around. So you're losing money. And eventually, that's going to cost you in the future. So think about that is really critical. Because keeping a stable income, how about are you filing your taxes? You see, that's where you start. Making sure that all these things are done. And it's not even hard. That's the other thing. Before I became a homeowner, I thought it was the hardest thing. But then the more you do it, it's easier because you know all you have to present. You present your paperwork and you're done. You see? It's not hard. Just follow the process, follow the system. And so another thing somebody might mention would be like, okay, so how about if I had this car note and just pay down your debt. Don't miss payments. That's the thing. Because if you're delinquent on this car note, the bank is going to look at you. How are you going to pay us? Oh, I had somebody tell me, I cannot pay back those lenders who I defaulted on. No, that's going to be too much money. Did you know that you can negotiate for them to get a lower pay? Say, for example, you have this $1,000 debt that you defaulted on. You can call them and ask them, what is the least they can take? Simple as that. That's all. But if you're ignoring them over and over, thinking, okay, in 7 years, it will just fall off and guess what? Even in those 7 years, even after it falls off, they still can view that you didn't pay such and such. So I'm just encouraging you to make sure that you're taking these responsibilities seriously. Because if you want to leverage wealth, I hate to tell you, nothing's going to come for free. Okay? So you might get that particular house, but because you're used to free, I get this too. Oh, Grace, I just need the down payment assistance. Pay for my down payment or give you another loan for the down payment. And what else did I hear lately? Oh, can you loan me the money? First of all, I do not want to be phoned in cahoots with nobody. So, because that's also endangering myself. You see, I'm putting myself out for somebody. I'm an agent now. Essentially, having a license comes with its own obligations. So when people ask me, Grace, can you be the one to loan me the $10,000 to the nothing? I'm like, as much as I want to. Besides, my money is all tied up in investments. I wish you can lend me that $10,000 so I can do more investments. You see, because I need extra money to invest, and most of my money is always tied up anyway. So it's not like I'm trying not to give nobody money. It's just that my money is already planned ahead. So I hope yours is too. Because one thing I learned about money, if you don't plan for it, the people who have a plan always take your money. So I plan my money ahead. Before I even receive any money, it has plans. Not one, two, several plans. Whereby one plan is not going through, it's going to the next one. Like that. That's how I use my money. I don't want to always look like I don't have no money because I don't. Technically, I don't have it. Anyways, the other thing about the down payment assistance. So I don't mind you getting the down payment assistance. However, I don't want you to focus on, I need to wait on down payment assistance. Guess what? You need to start saving. Saving is a thing. Where do you need to start? You need to start making sure that you know your expenses and you know your income. And what are you doing? Because the difference between your savings, your expenses and your income, that's where your savings come. How can you leverage to make more money? Like I mentioned in my story, how I had to get a second job when I knew I needed to increase my income. They did not include it because it was just a few months. Guess what? But I was able to have extra money. You see, towards closing, I had extra money when we got that house to purchase whatever instead of ended up in debt. You see? Because if you're just waiting on, I'll just wait on the down payment. And then most of the time they have a specific criteria. They look at your income, they look at your job. Sometimes they look at location specific, and even sometimes it costs money. Nothing's free, y'all. They might give you that down payment assistance, but you might have to pay a little more in interest. And not just the interest, the closing cost might be a little more. So you're paying more on top of that. Yet you can just do a few things right now. Making sacrifices, that's the thing. You see, I don't have no cable. I have Netflix. So from $100 of cable to $15 of Netflix. Now tell me that's not a saving. Not eating out much. You see, what are you doing with your life? I don't go out much because I'm looking at my money. I don't have this money to just splurge. So those are sacrifices you have to make, because that will help you discipline you to make sure that you build more wealth, and not just now when you need to get this house, later on, because it compounds. If you're not able to do those sacrifices now, that tells me you're not going to be able to do those sacrifices later when you get this home. So I know I've been off topic saying different things about what you should do, but it's simple. You know what you should do. So figure it out. What do you need to do? Because like a psychologist, most times we have to ask you the same question. What would you like to do? And what do you think you should do? And when you make that determination, focus on doing that. I hope you learned a thing or two out of my video, and please use my example because I really don't want you to be like me. I wasted a lot of time. Please don't waste more time than you should. And share in the comments below what you think, and hopefully you'll benefit from this video. Until next time.